You smile down at him. Give him a quick kiss. You're on a log. Just a quick peck on the cheek. Hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you're new here. My name is Death by Pony. Today we're hopping back into our life. So without further ado, let's hop in. And back in we go. It was so picturesque that it belonged on a postcard. For the mundane activity of eating lunch, it was almost too much. Could one be overly serene? I can't believe we're really here. Why are you and I eating sandwiches in the middle of a mountain? Thanks for letting me come here with you. I'm really glad we're here. This is kind of weird, right? You silently reflected on what happened. Thanks for letting me come with you. Of course I am all too happy that you accepted my invitation. He polished off his sandwich first and then wiped his fingers on a paper napkin he'd been certain to pack those. Perhaps I'm being fanciful, but this feels almost dreamlike. Huh? You understood where he was coming from. Up on this mountain, your everyday life felt so far away. It was far away. You traveled for miles to be here. This time, you both were far from home, in the middle of an unfamiliar. It was nature's domain, untamed, in a different way than you experienced with the ocean. Yeah, I think I get it. It doesn't seem to fit what I normally do when I'm awake. Baxter reached out and grabbed a leaf from the ground, twirling it around with his fingers. Exactly. As you worked on finishing your own lunch, a heavy weight dropped on your shoulder. After a beat, you realized it was just Baxter leaning on you, apparently having finished lunch and making himself comfortable. His eyes were closed, dark lashes especially apparent against his cheekbones, and lips parting softly with quiet breath. For a second, you wondered if he fell asleep again until he spoke as if aware of the fact that you wanted to ask. This is nice. It wasn't much of an answer, though he did crack an eye open to look up at you from his perch. Yeah, it is. He closed his eyes, and this time bearing his cheek a little too close into the hole beneath your shoulder and your head. Are you tired? Baxter considered the suggestion for a second, then nodded slowly against your shoulder. If it let me stay a while, yes. All right.
Thank you.
Why, thank you.
You
know, the forest that I grew up with had different foliage. At least 60% of the plants growing here only exist in this climate. Oh, really? Is that true? That doesn't sound real? No way. How interesting. You listen to say anything. Oh, really? How did Baxter happen to have that fact memorized? Maybe he'd studied before his trip, although with him, it's not outside the realm of possibility that he knew beforehand just 'cause. Baxter's expression twitched as if that wasn't suspicious, then at least 60% of your observational power was wrong. Under your scrutiny, he shrugged and finally answered your question. No. He grinned like the Cheshire cat, self-satisfied and smug. His eyes glittered with amusement. I entirely made that up off the top of my head. Although since I know truly nothing about California wildlife, it may reflect reality after all. Probably not, but I can't rule it out completely. You laughed at his nonsense. He was so blunt about it. At your mirth, his grin grew wider, and he regaled you with other fake nature facts. He spoke about the California mountain hare, the only North American rodent that ate a large diet of bees, and it was entirely made up by a man who normally dressed in monochrome. But the meal was over by that point, and you did have to trek ahead before you could return to the motel. The hotel. Why do I keep saying motel? It would help if I hit the right button too. Baxter separated himself from your shoulder, perky as ever. Trash and scraps were thrown into the delivery bag. Baxter stuffed it into his normal bag.
Good.
Leave no trace. Yeah, we can't have it hurting the 60% of plants that may or may not only be found here. With everything stowed away, the two of you slid off the rock and rejoined the path. Both you and Baxter were fully recharged from the lunch break. You continued to hike steadily, keeping a good pace. Without warning, Baxter rooted himself in the middle of the path. Oh, look at that. He jerked his head and you followed his gaze. Further onto his left side of the trail, there was a stream flowing swiftly. But you immediately knew part of the scene caught his attention. Lying across the bank, a tree had fallen to create a natural bridge. You stepped around him to get a better vantage point. The trunk had to be 3 feet thick and covered in vibrant green moss, leaves and long fallen from a few remaining branches. Baxter's bright eyes stayed on it, and he grinned all the while.
exciting.
1 minute, please. I need to walk across that. It's too perfect to simply pass on that. He took a large step and promptly left the path. A twig snapped. Wait, what? Oh my god, you laughed at this man. You shouldn't leave the trail. Guess I want to do that too. You followed after him. You stayed on disbelief. We're gonna follow. Walking off the path made you infinitely glad that you weren't wearing flip-flops today. There was brush blocking the way everywhere. You chose to mimic most of Baxter's movement. Despite his excitement, he still paid attention to where he put his feet. You dodged what could have been poison ivy and then had to limbo under a low-hanging branch between a couple of saplings. Baxter snagged his shirt on a thorn. Hold on. You carefully unhooked the fabric to save it from tearing. Baxter craned his neck to inspect the shirt, visibly relieved that it was undamaged.
Glad to hear it.
Oh, I'm glad you decided to come with me on this fortuitous adventure. Finally, he skipped over some stones and then squeezed himself between a group of thick bushes. His efforts were surprisingly graceful. You clambered on the rocks behind him and took a moment to assess the bushes yourself. Going all the way around would be a hassle. There was a small gap under one of the bushes, but unless you were prepared to crawl, you didn't think you'd fit. You followed Baxter's path, lightly bending a few branches out of your way. You go through it without any scratches. Now, through the gauntlet, catching up with Baxter was easy. This close to the stream bank was most stones and short grasses. Baxter solidly placed a foot on the trunk, suspended over it. He was testing if his weight, then rocked his heel to shake the bridge. The tree gave no significance of giving under pressure. No matter what he did, it wasn't budging.
Excellent.
The safety check complete, he grinned. He gingerly lifted his foot and stood fully on the collapsed trunk. Even if it was stuck, the wood had to be slick, wet, and round. Weren't an ideal combination. Your forehead crinkled. Baxter showed no concern for that and walked further along, an inch at a time, until he was above the water. One wrong move and he'd be in that river. He enthusiastically climbed on. Carefully, you decided against getting on the trunk after all. Careful. First you sat down, then pulled up your feet. The damp bark was unpleasant, especially on your knees, as you first crouched. However, when you stood up, the tree stayed firm. You breathed a sigh of relief. He went across the stream with his arms out, a light step, heel toe. It was almost like he was floating in air, his movement smooth and assured. You weren't having trouble either. You were unsteady on your feet, but managing to remain upright. You were wobbling wildly. I don't want to end up in the river. You shimmied along after Baxter with confidence. The tree was more scared of you than you were of it. When the moss grew thick over the trunk, it squished under your shoe. However, it was firmly attached and your foot never slipped. As long as you didn't falter, you kept your balance. The log was large enough that even with how round it was, you had plenty of room. When you reached the halfway point directly over part of the stream, Baxter paused.
Is that fine?
Sorry to block the path. Can we take a minute here? Sure. He twisted, pivoting his feet so he'd face the water. You copied him and breathed in the beauty. Together you stood up on top of a fallen tree as the stream flowed right underneath. The water was clear. Tiny fish darted in and out of hiding places. It was its own little universe tucked away at the top of a mountain. Your hand found Baxter's. You looked over at Baxter. Hold his hand. You took hold of him and he squeezed you back. You smiled down at him. Give him a quick kiss. You're on a log. Just a quick peck on the cheek. You leaned closer to him, careful with your positions on the tree bridge, so you wouldn't do to smooch your boyfriend off a tree. Much to his delight, you gently gave him a peck on his cheek. Then he inched close to you and kissed you on the nose. Both of you beamed at each other. I'm quite grateful for my impeccable balance in cases like this. Are you really going to tell me that stuff like this has happened to you regularly? I'm not going to tell you anything other than, well, you'd be surprised. You flashed a mischief-filled grin. At this point, I'm learning to accept whatever from you. It's just easier that way. Good. You considered asking for more details, but doubted he'd elaborate. Suddenly, there was a splash in the stream below. A ripple spread across the water, but the cause of it remained a mystery. There was nothing to be seen. Baxter restored his attention to the log. He tapped the trunk, kicking off a loose remnant of bark. We don't actually need to go all the way across. Nothing particularly enthralling is over there.
Bravo.
I enjoyed our little tryst very much, but I believe this is the curtain call. Alright. You led the charge off of the tree, Baxter's hand warm in yours. You both kept each other grounded until you actually reached the ground. As a joke, you pretended to kiss the ground. Thank goodness we didn't fall. That was natural. Next time I get to pick the off-trail adventure. You dusted off your clothes. Thank goodness we didn't fall. The stream was probably freezing cold even if you weren't injured. Hiking to the hotel while completely soaked sounded miserable. I wasn't going to let you slip. His voice was full of confidence that you didn't know if you should believe. He followed up his declaration with an elaboration. In the past, many of my stunts have been riskier than this. I sincerely apologize if it worried you. Well, we both made it, so I can't complain now. Back to the trail. You nodded and started squeezing your way past the vegetation in your way. Baxter followed you for a change. Finally, the path was under your feet. It sure was faster than trekking directly through the overgrowth. On we go. As your hike resumed, Baxter's jaunty attitude stood out. The entire trip he had seemed different, more lighthearted. Usually when he was in a playful mood, it was more teasing. He was still very controlled, but out here, now it wasn't the same. Maybe because he was in the middle of nowhere, he felt extra free, or maybe it was because he'd already broken character with his unintentionally stolen shirt. Or it was the strange possibility to consider. Maybe it was entirely normal for him to act like this and you didn't know. Gradually, it grew darker and darker. Less light made it through the canopies of leaves above you. The sun had slipped behind the surrounding mountains. It was well into evening, and you'd caught the sight of the hotel. Ah, we've arrived. Honestly, I'm having many regrets. His tone was light and jokey, but there was something boldly truthful to his words. I should have reserved the rooms for much longer. Everything is ending too soon for my taste. He rubbed a hand through his hair, exhaustedly sweeping it back into place. However, at this point, there is no helping it. Live and learn, Baxter. You returned to the warm lights of the lobby, and then the plush red carpet squished in strangely decadent way compared to how gross you felt from tromping around the woods all day. Baxter halted you mid-stride with a question. What are your plans now? You hadn't thought it that far, but Baxter didn't pause long enough for you to answer. If you're willing, we could eat dinner together. For example, I've heard the room service here is divine. We could also go somewhere else, but I'd require a few minutes to change. Room service is fine. I've always wanted to get room service. Don't mind hiding away from the public with you. Gave him a thumbs up. Ah, you shrugged. Let's hide away from public with him. You discovered my evil plan. He sighed dramatically as you chuckled at his fake shame. I should have expected you to figure me out. My true desire is returning to the room and relaxing rather than cleaning up at this hour of the night. No worries, I'm not judging.
That's wonderful.
I appreciate it. Now, once we've ordered food, then tonight will be perfect. Perhaps I'll have a salad. I swear it's not because we've been surrounded by leaves all day. Your stomach gurgled at the mention of food. New plan was just in time. You headed straight to Baxter's room. He led the way with his suit. To his suit, like the hotel was the back of his hand. To his suite. Fucking stupid. like the hotel was the back of his hand, though it was a simple layout. But under his confident guidance, you reached the destination and he dropped your bag on the floor. The carpet muffled the thump. Baxter spread his now free arms widely to welcome you in. Please take a seat wherever you'd like. Baxter moved towards the nightstand, and scrounged up a pamphlet on the hotel services. He sat down at the side table. Baxter flipped through the booklet until he spied the menu. Found it. He joined you around the table and placed the menu down so both of you could read it. At a glance, most of the options were classic comfort foods. It matched the cabin in the woods aesthetic that the hotel was going for. However, it was also had a sprinkling of more high-end options catered to a certain set of clientele. It couldn't be understated how weird the concept of getting lobster in a hotel was. All entrees came with seasonal veggies and homemade roll. In addition, you could also pick up a side of mashed potatoes, fries, French onion soup, or a salad. Baxter was hemming and hawing, as he did when spoiled for choice. You could only hope it wouldn't be much of a struggle for him as choosing which ice cream to get. You considered the options for yourself and decided on salad, shepherd's pie, pot roast, lobster, oyster, scallop platter, grilled cheese, tuna sandwich, tomato soup, turkey gravy, bolognese, risotto, steak, prime rib, steelhead trout, lasagna, a gnocchi bowl. I want shepherd's pie. And for the side, you picked your favorite of the list. I love French onion soup, but mostly if my mother makes it. There is nothing standing out in the menu for me. That makes it easy. I'll get the risotto and a side salad. So you're getting your bowl of leaves after all. I am indeed. Baxter confirmed your order again as well as repeating his own. Spawning over the room phone, he dialed room service and placed an order promptly. Yes, thank you. Goodbye. He hung up the call and sat down in the corner of the bed. He tapped his finger on his leg. All that was left was to wait. You decided to spend the time cooling down from the hike and cleaning up a bit. Baxter cranked up the AC and washed his face with a damp towel. You collected a bucket of ice from the hallway's ice machine and treated yourself to some crisp water. About 30 minutes after the order was put in, a knock rattled the door. Baxter volunteered to get it. Hello. He opened the door and let in the waiting staff member. Chloe rolled in a cart carrying literally silver platters. They set out food on the table for you. Please enjoy your dinner. Let us know if you need anything else. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Privately, you were impressed by the fanciness of the presentation. The staff member made their farewells, leaving you to your meal. You reconvened around the table once more.
Well.
This food comes from the restaurant and the hotel. It's not a small operation preparing it. This feels weird. He should not be in this. Oh. Chatting and chewing happened in turns. The topic inevitably came to your preference for food. Everyone always talks about fries and ice cream going together well, but honestly, they're missing out on the obvious. Fries and whipped cream are even better. It's still sweet and salty combination. You don't have to deal with the cold fries. That wasn't even the first strange food he'd brought up to the conversation. He started off with something unconscious and then slipped in an oddity to watch your reaction. How many were real? How many fell into the realm of the 60% unique plants, i.e. complete and utter nonsense? Gross. I have to try it. Have you ever thought of trying fries with pies? You teased. You don't think I'm being serious? No, you didn't think he was serious. It takes a lot more to find good flavor combinations than rhyming. If it works like that, then nothing would ever go well with oranges. Sure, Baxter. After many food admissions that made Baxter either the king of weird taste buds or reigning jester, dinner came to an end. When you glanced at the clock, you found it was later than you ever would have guessed. It's been a long day. Sitting back in your chair, you stretched your arms up to your legs were feeling the effects of perhaps being uphill for miles. A yawn bubbled up when your phone rang. Who'd be calling you at this time? Pulled your phone out to check if it was anything mattered or a spam call. Liz's name showed on the screen. Right, of course, your sister wouldn't wait any longer for the mandatory check-in. You were late. At least you didn't jump straight to the police.
In that case...
You're welcome to answer that if you'd like. I can give you privacy. No, it's my sister. You don't have to go anywhere. You tapped the screen to answer the phone call, put on speaker. That way both of you could say hello. What's up, Liz?
Hey.
Surprise check-in. James, you still alive? Did that Victorian-era emo man give you any trouble? Liz, it's on speaker. You cough violently at the opener. You laughed hysterically. It's not Victorian-era. Victoria-era emo men don't exist. Yes, I live. Liz, it's on speaker. Your jaw dropped open as you turned to Baxter in frantic panic. How would he take Liz's colorful description? Oh. She paused, then so-called Victoria-era emo man filled the growing awkward silence. Baxter was already leaning on the table with his elbow propped up on the counter. Now he lazily rested his chin on one of his fists. Hello, that's certainly a unique description. I can't say I've ever heard the likes of it before.
So what?
I stand by it. Hello to you, Baxter. I'm making sure that everything is well with my brother. You understand. I do completely. Fine. So again, what are you doing? We just had room service for dinner. Sheesh, Lucky, I had to make my own dinner like a peasant. It sucks for you.
Jeez.
Right, you have room service once and you're lording it over me? You heard the click of her tongue disapprovingly. Where did my sweet baby brother go? On vacation without any peasants. I love this. This is how I talk to my own brother. The two of you shot a few more snippets at each other. None were meant to strike anywhere lethal. It was all in good fun. Baxter watched with the increasing entertainment. Anyways, clearly you're still breathing, so I'll let you go. It'd be discourteous to keep you from your suitor any longer. She spoke in a mocking formal tone, poking at Baxter, who playfully responded. How gracious of you, Miss Todd. You are indeed a gentlewoman.
Bye.
See you tomorrow, bro. Yeah, see you soon.
Take care.
Yeah, take care. I will make sure you take care of him. On that slightly threatening note, Liz hung up. Baxter's lips twitched upward. Your family is charmingly protective. I realize that more and more every day. They're the best. I'm sorry about Liz's comment. Protective, more like annoying. I'm glad you're willing to put up with it. They're usually not like this. It's just unusual circumstance. That's right. You shouldn't forget it. Willing to put up with it. It's not a problem. I'm nearly a stranger and cannot deny that I'm imposing a great deal on your free hours. It's good to be cautious.
Honestly.
And truly, I do like your family at least as much as I can from little we've interacted. Speaking of, he lifted his head, his hand under his chin. Instead, he furrowed his brow. In general, I would never dare to be presumptuous, but I cannot deny that I am deeply curious about you as a person. So I'll venture to ask, you'd be willing to share more about your family history? Oh, it made sense. Your family was a mother and father who had children born to them. He knew that much. There are more ways than one that you could all come together. You didn't remember ever explaining anything to him. I don't really want to talk about that. That's fine. I don't mind talking about it. You could at least give him the highlights. Baxter humored. Many of your questions about him getting to know each other was a two-way street. I'm adopted and Liz is too. We're from different places and we're adopted at different times. We weren't even born in the same country. It's amazing that we all met each other. But we were both really young. We've spent almost our entire lives together.
I see.
Well, it's fantastic how you've made your own beautiful family. Thanks, Baxter. His words made you feel warm inside. You respected how easily he took it. It made you wonder about his family situation. He had been rather closed-mouthed about it so far. And again, the two-way street analogy came to mind. Ooh, are we going to pry more into this man's life? Are you and your parents blood related? Oh yes, we certainly are. His voice took on a certain amusement, his lips stretched thin. My parents might have well been through with me many times over if I wasn't their own flesh and blood. Before you could ask what he meant by that, he chuckled. Sorry, no, that is me being dramatic. They're family and I'm their son. That's what matters. At the end of the day, blood related or not. Okay, it's nice your parents care about you. You wouldn't voice the flicker of worry, but I'm thankful for that as well. Now, if I wasn't the boy they raised together in any capacity, then there would be a problem. He laughed some more and then brought his fingers to his lips. The topic was over. Well, he pulled at his collar of his roommate's shirt. His gaze searched out at the room's ticking
Good
clock.
night.
It's been a delightful day, but I should not linger forever. There is much to do tomorrow. Good night, James. He stood with a slight wave and grabbed his bag to go. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, remember to hit like. That way I know you're enjoying the videos I'm making. Remember to subscribe. That way YouTube brings you back here to see what's next. And I won't take up any more of your time. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.